They knew it was coming. India's coastal state of Odisha was braced for the worst. More than 1 million people were evacuated ahead of the storm, but the coastal resort of Puri still suffered extensive damage. The storm brought down trees and power lines as it moved inland. In Bhubaneswar, Odisha's state capital, the streets were deserted. The storm left chaos behind it, and although it is expected to weaken over the coming hours, authorities are still warning people to be careful along the coastline.
We are just prevent the people not to go inside the sea beach corridor because it is now high sensitive. So we are in the assistance of the police administration and the NDRF team. We are preventing all the local people and the viewers not to go inside the sea beach corridor, and that is dangerous.
For now, it seems that the evacuation plans have paid off. But once the storm has died down, people in Odisha will have to be ready for a lengthy cleanup operation.
Nishima Jaiswal is covering the story for us from Delhi. Nishima, we just heard in the piece that evacuations have largely paid off, but clearly evacuations alone couldn't prevent other problems. Could you tell us more about that?
Well, of course, evacuations have had a positive impact when it comes to the cost of human lives, but infrastructure has been damaged heavily all across the state of Odisha, and now the cyclone is moving into the state of West Bengal. The coastal areas have been heavily inundated, but in fact, some of the loss of life that has been reported has occurred because of falling communication poles, falling telephonic poles, cranes toppling over, buildings being impacted, the construction of the houses not being sturdy enough. Now, I have to draw a comparison to the last super cyclone that hit Odisha in 1999, 2 decades ago. 2 decades, India has actually perfected its response system when it comes to human cost, because 10,000 lives were lost back in 99. But when it comes to infrastructure costs, India has moved relatively slowly. It has committed more recently to improving resilient, disaster-resilient infrastructure, because with global warming, extreme weather events or EWEs are becoming more frequent. But given how slow and arduous the processes of building up infrastructure is, the road ahead is going to be a tough one for India.
How is the situation now?
Well, as I mentioned, there is heavy damage all along the coast in many of the cities in Odisha as well, in rural areas, of course, because the houses are thatched. Many people have been displaced. 1 million people were evacuated in advance, which is why the human cost has been reduced. But these people now have to be supported by central authorities. The Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard was deployed. The National Disaster Relief Force of India is one of the largest in the world, and they are bringing medicines and food to the people. They have deployed generators so that the people can have electricity. But when it comes to when these people can actually go back to their homes, if their homes are still standing, the road ahead is going to be an arduous one, because it's going to require a lot of restoration work to make it possible for them to go back.
What can you tell us about how this cyclone will develop within the next 24 hours or so?
Well, today already the cyclone has reached the state of West Bengal in India, as I mentioned, and as it has proceeded, it has been continuously weakening. In the first 6 hours after it made landfall yesterday, it was extremely severe, but as the time passes, it is being downgraded to very severe and severe categories. There is heavy rain in West Bengal and there's wind, but it is not at all as damaging as it was yesterday. However, authorities have said that people must be careful and must not get complacent, because such wind speeds are still dangerous. They could still be crossing 100 kilometers per hour. And of course, it is now expected to leave India and pass into Bangladesh, which also has to be ready to make sure that its own people are not impacted heavily by Cyclone Fani.
Nishima, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate that update.